What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So yesterday I did a video discussing the top cards you need to compete in the 2018-2019 competitive format, and I floated the idea out there of creating a budget alternative to that video that's kind of an equivalent, but for the people who can't afford 20, 30, hell, even $40+ cards, and I thought that was a fair point, and you guys seem to be very receptive to that idea. So today I'm going to be bringing to you 50 cards that you can buy right now for just $1. Now, there is a bit of a caveat here because obviously these prices are taken at the time of recording this video and prices can fluctuate, but a lot of these cards I don't really think are going to fluctuate too much, if at all, just because they've had multiple printings. Now, there are going to be some cards on here that are no-brainers, but I felt were very important to include, but most of the cards on this list, even I was shocked that they were only at the $1 or less price range. That was actually mind-blowing that you could get some awesome pickups for a cheap price. So if you're looking to take your deck to the next level without breaking the bank, then this is definitely going to be the video for you. And you know what? If this video helped save you money, you can help give back and become a YouTube channel member. Just by hitting the join button down below, you're going to be able to join the ranks of people like the Big Tiny Store, Sir Dwaggy, and Rainbow Jazz, and people who want to help support the channel, get that Cimo badge, and show their support. So if you're interested in becoming a YouTube channel member, just hit the join button or check the links down in the description. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So we're going to start off with the monster cards, and one of the greatest monsters that you can now pick up for a very cheap price thanks to its reprint in the latest structure deck is Phantom SKYBLASTER. Phantom SKYBLASTER is basically Scapegoat, but an offensive version of Scapegoat because you can just normal summon it, get a ton of tokens, then you can start link summoning and just going off. It's an incredibly powerful card and has contributed to the success of many competitive decks. So if you have a deck that doesn't rely on normal summoning and you want to just flood the board with link materials, Phantom SKYBLASTER getting reprinted at common in the new structure deck was the best thing that could have ever happened to it, because now it is going to be in that $1 or less price range. Another really good card is Eater of Millions. Eater of Millions is really generic. You can pretty much throw it in any deck, and it's really solid monster removal. Yeah, sure, you have to banish some cards from the field or extra deck, but the thing is, having access to this sort of generic removal that not only removes the monster, but also banishes it, is incredibly powerful. We've seen it used in tons of strategies in the past, and it's definitely a really good pickup if you're looking for kind of a way to have your deck do something a little bit different that it might not be able to currently. Couple of other cards we've got VANITY'S Fiend, just an amazing powerhouse of a stun card depending on the format. VANITY'S Fiend can literally just win you games depending on the circumstances, and if you just have a way to special summon a monster, tribute out VANITY'S Fiend on turn 1, it could just outright win you the game. There's also Zaphion. Zaphion is an amazing card for being able to clear out your opponent's back row just in one fell swoop. The fact that it has some built-in immunities as well means it's really difficult sometimes for your opponent to deal with it, and if it leaves the field, you also get to draw a card, so it even replaces itself in that scenario. It's just such an all-around amazing card. Definitely something you're going to want to have in your collection. A couple other cards I wanted to include on here are PERFORMAGE Trick Clown. Trick Clown, even though it was more of an all-star back in the Xyz era because you could keep it under one of your Xyz monsters and use its effect to resurrect itself on the next turn to kind of help your link spamming plays go through, you now have the ability to use Trick Clown for link monsters and kind of double up on your link materials. It's got synergy with a ton of different decks and is really powerful in that respect. Another card is also Destrudo. Destrudo, even though we got Ancient Fairy Dragon banned, Destrudo is still incredibly powerful for the amount of tutoring it allows from the extra deck for level 7 synchros. Worst case scenario though, it can just be a free link material that you do have to pay half your life points to summon. That might not be the best case scenario, but it's still very powerful nonetheless and is a very crucial combo piece for a lot of different decks in order to facilitate their highly explosive plays. Now, one of the biggest barriers to entry when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Is hand traps, and so I wanted to include a couple hand traps that we can actually afford at the $1 or less price range, one of which is DD Crow. Now, obviously DD Crow is, not the best hand trap, but in certain scenarios it can actually be very powerful in being able to cut off certain graveyard specific plays. It's a quick effect, it can target any card, so that means you actually have some more flexibility in not just only having to hit monsters, but if there's a lot of graveyard centric strategies roaming around, which typically in every competitive format there's usually at least one, then DD Crow could actually be a pretty decent option. You've also got Retaliating C. Retaliating C is kind of specific because it does require your opponent to special summon by means of a spell effect, but if you get Retaliating C on the field, you basically have a floating macrocosmos and can honestly, just depending on the circumstances, just be one of the most powerful plays you can possibly do. This card sometimes sees play just depending on how a format shapes up, but it's a very good option and something you definitely want to have on hand for when those scenarios arise. You've also got cards like Artifact Lancea, and if you want to have a more permanent effect of Lancea, there's also Chaos Hunter. Now, both of these cards effectively do the same thing, where they pretty much prevent banishing for the duration of the turn. Lancea is just for the entire turn that it's discarded, and you've got Chaos Hunter, which is permanent, but also pretty much is going to stay there with a 2400 body. You just have to also discard a card in order to summon it as well. These cards are both incredibly powerful, and if your opponent does a ton of banishing or just basically an instrumental part of their combo, having these two cards can be very good, especially Chaos Hunter, because you get a really big body in addition to that just denial of banishing by your opponent. Lastly, I did want to talk about Kaijus. Now, when it comes to Kaijus, everyone looks at cards like Gamma Seal because Gamma Seal has the best stats, but Gamma Seal is also the most expensive. But there are a few Kaijus that are actually currently under $1. You've got the Thunder King Kaiju, and you also have Godarla. Now, obviously, these aren't the best Kaijus because their stats are a little bit higher, which isn't necessarily a good thing. That's why people play Gamma Seal, but just having access to Kaijus for under the $1 price point is good enough for me, because if you have a way to get over your opponent's just incredibly annoying boss monster by just tributing the fuck over it, I'll go ahead and take that no matter what it is, because even if you give them a big monster, you can at least remove it. It's at least susceptible to like every source of removal, whereas their boss monster might not have been. So definitely get your Godarlas, definitely get your Thunder Kings, because these are the cheapest Kaijus, and they might not be the cheapest Kaijus for long, especially after this video goes live. Now, moving away from main monsters, we are going to talk about monsters in the extra deck. I want to make sure I included a couple of these. The first off being an Xyz monster, Bagooska. Now, Bagooska hasn't seen play in a while, but if there's a rank 4 centric deck, it could potentially come back and see play. We are in an era dominated by links, so its effect is a little bit conditional, but if your opponent isn't able to link summon, Bagooska could be one of the most oppressive cards to make your opponent have to deal with. It stalls the game out for like 2 turns, it's incredibly good, and it's just an all-star when it comes to the rank 4 toolbox. Moving away from Xyz though, we have a bunch of link monsters. You're definitely going to want to get your hands on an Underclock Taker. The reason why Underclock Taker is good is because one of its arrows point downward, and its effect to reduce your opponent's monster's attack and give that attack to one of your monsters is actually pretty good. So again, just having the access to a generic link 2 that points downward is good enough, but then having a good effect on top of it is really nice. You've also got Decode Talker. Decode Talker is one of the first link monsters ever released, and is still really good to this day. It's nice because it just has a ton of attack power, it gets bigger the more cards it's pointing to with its link markers, and it has the ability to basically negate targeting effects. So pretty much all around good card even still to this day, and affordable at the under $1 price point. A couple of other link monsters I want to discuss are Nightmare Cerberus and Nightmare Phoenix. You should definitely get your hands on these if you don't have them already. They can be used in any single extra deck at the moment just because they're so generic, and the ability that they have to destroy special summon monsters in the main monster zone and spell and trap cards are just phenomenal. And then they have co-linked effects in addition to that that allow you to draw cards and give your co-linked monsters protection. There's literally all upside with these cards, and you're definitely going to want to have them in your extra deck. Now moving on to spell cards, we discussed hand traps earlier, and those can be the bane of anyone's existence, especially if you're trying to get into more competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! But luckily for us, one of the options in the spell category is our best option, and it comes in at under $1, thankfully, because it's a common, and that card is Called by the Grave. Not only is Called by the Grave the ultimate anti-hand trap tool, but even if you're not using it for hand traps, you can use it to disrupt your opponent's graveyard plays, and also just use it to negate the effects of your opponent's monsters if they're playing monsters in multiples. This card has so much flexibility. This is definitely a must-have if there was like a top 5 of the 50 cards on this list. Called by the Grave is just an incredible option. I've got some more common staple cards on here like Mystical Space Typhoon, Dark Hole. If you don't already have these, you definitely should, because the fact they're under $1, there's really no excuse for you not to. We've also got cards like Pot of Duality, which depending on your deck you may or may not want to use, but Duality is still an incredible card, just allowing you to filter through your deck, get to the options you need, and help see the cards you want to see quicker. One card that's very popular actually at the current moment is Mind Control. Now, Mind Control, the fact that this card's under $1 is just incredible, because this card, especially now that we're in the Link era, is just amazing. Stealing your opponent's Link monster, then linking off with it, or stealing your opponent's monster just to do anything with it is an incredibly powerful play, and the fact that now we have Link's Mind Control's versatility has just gone through the roof. We see it used in competitive play even to this day, and is definitely something you're going to want to pick up a playset of. Another really good card is Instant Fusion. Now, obviously you need targets to go with Instant Fusion, and those can vary in price, but Instant Fusion's really good because it's basically like free Link material if you want it to be. There's some good monsters you can summon off of it that actually have powerful effects while they're either on the field or get destroyed by Instant Fusion's effect. You could use it for like Xyz plays, for Synchro plays. There's a lot of really good benefits that Instant Fusion still provides, and having copies of this card on hand is definitely a good thing. I've also got cards like Scapegoat. Scapegoat is actually under $1 as well, and if you've got a ton of Link monsters at your disposal and you don't have an easy way to summon it, well, Scapegoat can be your best friend. Flip it on your opponent's end phase, you get 4 tokens to link with and do whatever you want with. It's one absolutely huge powerhouse of a card. Might get limited on the next Forbidden list, to be perfectly frank, but something you definitely want to take advantage of while you can. A couple of other cards are Foolish Burial as well as Foolish Burial Goods. Foolish Burial is limited to 1, so obviously there's a reason it's good, but Foolish Burial Goods in particular allows you to send spells and traps to the graveyard, and the more Yu-Gi-Oh! Evolves, the more cards that we want to get in the graveyard that have effects that trigger while they're in there, or you've got synergy with stuff like Sky Strikers. The fact that this card has had so many reprints actually makes it rather affordable now, so even though that's a meme, it's actually good for players looking to pick up their copies. Another couple of cards are Mistaken Arrest. Yeah, this card is actually only $1 and is basically like Droll and Lockbird in the form of a spell card. Now, obviously it's not as good because you can't use it during your opponent's turn 0 if you lose the die roll, but it's still really good nonetheless in helping slow your opponent down, and I think it's definitely something you might want to consider investing in. One card that is one of my personal favorites is Enemy Controller. Enemy Controller kind of falls in line with like Mind Crush or Mind Control, because as long as, you know, we're in the Link era, Enemy Controller is always going to be good. We have a ton of tokens running around that you can use as tribute fodder. Changing your opponent's monsters to defense actually sometimes becomes relevant, and just stealing your opponent's monsters just feels so good and can potentially just win you the game, especially considering you can still attack with it and it's a quick play spell. So a lot of flexibility. Definitely want to have your copies. Some other cards we have on here are the Forbidden cards, Forbidden Lance and Forbidden Chalice. Lance doesn't see too much play anymore, but having the spell and trap immunity is pretty nice. You can also do some cute tricks in the damage step. And Forbidden Chalice is one of those cards that goes in and out of formats because having that quick play effect negation can prove to be instrumental. We've also got cards like Book of Moon, Monster Reborn. Honestly, if you don't have these cards yet, I don't know what you're doing. They're both still at 1, but definitely have your copies. We also have cards like Deck Lockdown. This can be one of the most powerful turn 1 plays you can have. If you establish a board, throw down Deck Lockdown. Now neither player can search their decks, and you can put your opponent just in a very awkward position by having that Deck Lockdown just overwhelmingly dominate the board. I've also got cards like Lullaby of Obedience. Yeah, the card that almost won the World Championship. This card is really cool and has a lot of flexibility. You can do some really neat things with it. It's a pretty nice card to have overall. You might want to use it in your side deck, but there are some cases where the card does become main deck worthy. Sekka's Light is another one. Sekka's Light, while it is very specific to the type of deck it needs to be used in, it's still a very powerful card. It's basically Pot of Greed. You know, you just can't use any other spells and traps in your entire deck. That seems pretty fair, right? But you get to run 3 of it, and that seems pretty good. Another couple cards are Pre-Preparation of Rites. If there's ever going to be a time that a ritual deck dominates the game, once again, Pre-Prep will definitely most likely be in it, and I think it's definitely good to get your copies now and be ahead of the curve. You've also got Soul Charge. You definitely want to have a copy of Soul Charge and play that while it's still legal, because who knows, it might not be legal for very much longer. Wrapping up the spells, though, we have Sky Striker Jamming Waves. This is a very generic card that just pops set, spell, and traps and then destroys monsters, and it's under $1. Seems pretty good, right? And lastly, we have Living Fossil, kind of an alternative to something like Monster Reborn, a little bit more specific, but it is an equip spell which does have some synergies depending on your deck, and is a really nice card to have overall, especially considering it's still at 3. Now, wrapping up this video, we do have the trap cards, and starting off, I couldn't believe this, but Artifact Sanctums are actually under $1. Can you guys believe that? Artifact Sanctum, one of the most powerful and crazy trap cards ever printed in this game, is under $1. Now, if you want to get Artifact Scythe to go in tandem with the Sanctum, it's going to cost you like $2, so maybe it's not technically a $1 card, but the Sanctums themselves are $1, and being able to shut down your opponent's extra deck for the entire turn, that is incredibly powerful, and something I always want to have, you know, just in my binder in case the card becomes relevant. Someone always seems to make it work. Very good card. Another really good card is Mind Crush. Mind Crush is another card that just always seems to make its way into formats because people are doing so much searching. You can just rip those cards out of their hand. You get the free information of what's in their hand. Just an incredibly powerful card and something you definitely want to acquire. There's also Solemn Judgment. With its reprint in Battles of Legend, this card is now under $1, and this is one of the most powerful, crazy trap cards ever printed. Definitely want to get your hands on that one copy. We've also got cards like Torrential Tribute, one of the strongest board wipes in the game, and it's at 3, and it's under $1. We also have Forbidden Apocrypha. Now, Apocrypha is a card that doesn't really see play too often, but if we ever get to a point where a Synchro or Xyz or like Fusion strategy becomes very prominent, Apocrypha is really good because it sends the monsters to the graveyard and is a very good card in very specific instances. Couple other cards we have are Heavy Storm Duster, kind of like an alternative to Mystical Space Typhoon, but it's a 1 for 2, which is just insane for you because that means you're going to get so much value off of it. Just flip it in the end phase, rip your opponent's 2 cards, and then you can just go in on the following turn. We also have some effect negators like Breakthrough Skill and Lost Wind. Both of these cards are good in their own specific instances, but they're both really solid, and having that effect negation can just prove to be absolutely instrumental. More cards, we have Floodgate Trap Hole. This card can just completely shut down a strategy if used at the right opportunity. You can use it to flip your opponent's monsters face down before they link summon, which means they won't be able to use it as link material since you can't link with face down monsters, and they can't flip it back up due to Floodgate Trap Hole's effect. So that's a pretty cool way just to mess with your opponent. Another card is Magic Deflector. Another card that sees play depending on the format, but can just be an auto shutdown card when used at the right moment. Imperial Iron Wall prevents banishing, so it's kind of like Chaos Hunter or Lancea, but just in a continuous trap card. Stops you from losing to evenly match, so that's pretty good, but Imperial Iron Wall, just a really good card all around. We also have Red Reboot and Royal Decree to wrap up this video. If you hate trap cards, depending on the type of deck you're playing, Red Reboot can be amazing to go in and OTK your opponent on the next turn, and Royal Decree is a bit of a slower card, which allows you to control the game, deny your opponent all of their traps, and then you can take control of the game from there. So guys, that's gonna do it for the video. 50 competitive cards for under $1. Be sure to go buy those cards now before the prices change, and let me know down in the comments what you guys think of any other cards that'd be really viable that are under $1. Try to keep it as generic as possible, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video helpful, consider becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by becoming a member and showing your support, you're contributing to my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.